Welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thank you for stopping on by. If you guys want to subscribe, that'd be cool, and appreciate you guys checking out the channel. So, Miami Heat, there was some news today, a lot of reporting from Ethan Skolnick, who, by the way, checking him out on SI's Heat page, which I believe is usually hosted by Shandell Richardson. Shout out to the boys over there, but good to see Ethan getting into the writing lab, and he had this piece today on the Haywood Highsmith trade, which, gave some backstory as to why the Miami Heat went about this deal. And their main reason, they said that the Heat made a collective decision to move on at the end of the last year because Haywood Highsmith slipped some defensively, which had been Highsmith's specialty, and they wanted to create opportunities for younger players, and Haywood Highsmith was not figuring into the regular rotation. They looked for a deal for a while. Ethan went in to say that they had tried to make him part of the Norman Powell trade with the Clippers, or there's a trade exception thing that didn't match up, and the only guy who did was Kevin Love. They really didn't want to get rid of Kevin Love. And then they were getting to a place where I guess they were having talks with the Nets to put him into their cap space. They haggled over the picks, and then the injury happened, and then it was kind of like, let's make this happen, baby. Otherwise we're going to find somebody else. And so they ended up having to attach the pick to the Nets. The Nets put the screws to him, and that's how that happened. I think I got all the details there from Ethan Skolnick from 5 Reasons Sports. Go check out their work. Go check out the boys over there. I have a couple thoughts on what Ethan's reporting. And mind you, I am not taking shots at the reporting. Appreciate the information from Ethan. The information that he is being given or that he is reporting, which, feels like the backstory explanation. I'm going to assume it's coming from the Heat side. Let's dive into this. Haywood Highsmith, they felt like he was slipping defensively. Okay, fine. You thought that he was slipping defensively. All in all, though, do you think that he is a bad defender to just not have on your roster? I got a hard time just, buying that one. Especially when the replacement plan for him was Drew Smith, who, again, I feel like this is the caveat I always got to put forth. Otherwise, I have evil Marcos, evil frog boy coming behind me, twisting his evil mustache. Drew Smith is an awesome story. He was great to watch last year. He is coming off an Achilles tear. And I can't stress this enough. He's coming off an Achilles tear. So maybe he's going to come in here with some miraculous comeback and he's going to be awesome. But you're going to have a hard time selling on me, other than shedding luxury tax, that a player more proven in Haywood Highsmith, defensive slippage or not, it was better off having Drew Smith on the roster, who's coming off an Achilles, is a safer bet than Haywood Highsmith, who is having a minor-ish knee injury, which he suffered training this offseason, and they said it was going to be not really at the start of training camp, but probably was going to be there by the regular season. That was the time that they had given. Maybe it was worse than they were letting on. I mean, the Heat sometimes not the most transparent with injuries, so maybe it was worse than I'm letting that they are letting on. That's potentially true as well. But I kind of feel like it just feels like to me this explanation is a little bit like, whoa. This is not just dropped out of the sky. We've been wanting to move on. This has been a plan to move on from Haywood Highsmith. Okay, look, I will give credence to Haywood Highsmith and Duncan Robinson. No players had their minutes yo-yoed with more than those two, because it was always like whenever they were ready to try somebody new, it was Duncan and Haywood out, no minutes. When those guys flopped on their face, you guys get all the minutes. That's usually how it would work. But all in all, the Heat did want to get under the luxury tax. I mean, we're going to sit here and talk about Drew Smith having a good 3 weeks defensively, Like that's more proven than what Haywood has, coming off a more devastating injury. It's just a hard sell for me. That's all. That's all it is. I don't want to quibble about it too much because we are talking about, the 10th, 11th guy on the roster, like the very end of the rotation for both ways. And like I said, I feel like they knew they were going to do something that was kind of heartless, which was just dumping Haywood Highsmith for nothing. And you knew you were going to have Draymond Green here, who's being Jimmy Butler's little ghostwriter, like sniveling in the background, being like, could you believe they wanted to play this guy in front of you, Jimmy? That's him sniveling. It's like, yeah, we know, dude. Okay. Like that's the whole story, Draymond. It's just like you were trying to be, a real leader of men when you punch one of your teammates in the face, or you were trying to rally the troops, kicking LeBron in the balls, let's just ignore the backstory to it. It doesn't really matter. I don't want to do that anymore, but I did find that hilarious. I also feel like he blew the joke because he put in parentheses internet experts, unless he's just being snarky calling the Heat internet experts. But I feel like it would have punctuated it more if he would have just said, didn't they want to play Haywood Highsmith? I feel like that would have been a much better joke, but neither here nor there. I'm not here to be his ghostwriter. So yeah, I don't know. I just saw this piece from Ethan, and again, appreciate the reporting, appreciate the info, appreciate the perspective, but I was like, I kind of feel like it's cute to say that, but all in all, we know what the ultimate goal of dumping Haywood Highsmith was, right? Like we know that this was still a salary dump. You guys can, the Heat can say, oh yeah, dude, he was slipping defensively. And maybe, maybe he does have to always go. You guys always throw him at like the best player in the league. It's like, who you got tonight, Haywood? Got to stop Anthony Edwards. All right, good luck, dude. Don't slip defensively. don't you do it. Like, but Drew Smith is going to handle that, top notch off the Achilles. I hope he does. I mean, look, maybe he can. I really do. Like, I hope that he does. I'm just saying, like, it's not that he can't. I just think that's a big ask. You're like, oh yeah, this guy who's been he's coming off of 2 devastating injuries. His superpower is being this, terror on defense for other players, but he's also coming off the most devastating injury there is for basketball players. I don't know. That's a bit of a wild one. On the good side of things, I did see that Andrew Wiggins, the Heat, tweeted out him and the Heat in the facility, and they, very cheeky, as my friends on Love Island like to say, Love Island UK, very cheeky by the Miami Heat. They posted a photo of Andrew Wiggins in the facility with the Heat banners behind him, big old smile on his face, like he is super happy to be on the Miami Heat. And I do feel like, look, I definitely am guilty of doing the body language thing with Andrew Wiggins. I don't want to be a phony about it. Like, I totally am like, I don't think this guy looks like he likes being here. He looked miserable. I also acknowledge, though, that he did have this kind of dropped in his lap last year, and he did leave an organization. I don't think that he wanted to leave in Golden State. He won a championship with them. They loved him there. You're moving across the country from your home. So I don't think it was the most comfortable place for him. But the hope is, you see him at the facility, which I saw, the boys at 5 Reasons, I think it was Lefty Leif, Greg Sylvander, say that the Heat have been surprised/thrilled with how much he has been around the facility. And I do think that a comfortable Andrew Wiggins does help this Miami Heat team. And I think everybody is going to be in a more comfortable spot. I hope that's the case. Look, they're going to be tested right out of the gate. And I think that's going to be one of the things that's exciting about this team, because you're going to need the fast start from them. And you're going to need them in a place that's like, whoa, can they, I would love for the Heat to land a couple of haymakers, like right out of the gate to let people know, like, hey, we're here for real this season. Because, a lot of the times Eric Spoelstra teams can kind of find their footing midway through the season. And I just don't think that they can afford that with everything that's hanging over them. All the guys on expiring deals, guys looking for extensions, pressure under contracts, all of it. I just think all of it is in a place where the Miami Heat are really, really, and I think just to fire up the fan base in general, I think that morale is pretty low around the fan base right now, even though I don't think this has been the worst summer in the world. I mean, look, ultimately they got Norman Powell for peanuts. Reasons for getting rid of Haywood Highsmith aside and having to attach a pick because the Nets are putting the screws to you. All that aside, look, getting Norman Powell for peanuts as opposed to, but also we're shedding the luxury tax a little bit. And okay, I think all in all, you can say this is a pretty good summer for the Heat. You can. I'm going to be fair about it. I just thought this. Oh, I don't know if I explained the other part, but Ethan also reported he has this injury. They have the Nets on the hook. Apparently, them and the Nets were talking. Then the Nets were like, "Hey, he's hurt. Make a decision on this." And so they kind of put the screws to the Heat to speed up the deal. Which, okay, fine. I'm not going to be crying over losing a second round pick. I know others do, and it's fine. It's a justified thing to be annoyed about. But from my standpoint, all in all, it was a good summer. But I do think that I think the pressure is on this team immediately to start the season. And you're going to know because they're going to be taking on a hell of a West Coast trip. They're going to take on a lot of Knicks and Cavs early on. And so, there's not going to be any phoniness, right? There's no hiding around. And I know Eric Spoelstra's going to be the first question when he's asked about this is going to be yeah, so who's running from the competition? We're not scared of a little competition. Same thing that he pulled last year. But genuinely, they do need this thing to come together pretty quickly. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what camp brings for them. But a happy, comfortable, ready to rock Andrew Wiggins, who's, more adapted to being in South Florida with these guys, with everybody, definitely puts him in a better place. So, and I think also the addition of Norman Powell also, kind of helps the hierarchy, maybe those bursts of Andrew Wiggins scorings coming out of whenever, because he'll just morph into super Andrew Wiggins mode where he can't be stopped, and then you're just that's the greatest basketball player I've ever seen. I don't understand why it's almost it's what's the thing that my son likes on Pokemon, when the Pokemon grows big, and it's but it's only for a certain amount of time that the Pokemon grows super big to battle somebody. And then he goes, so the attacks are like the Pikachu farts out the most incredible electricity, but it only lasts for one part. And so you got to make sure you get that's Andrew Wiggins. He can blow up into this Superman basketball player. And then it's no, I'm just going to do all the right things. And, for that you just got that for a quarter, so it's incredible, but good to see him smiling. Good to see him in the facility. And, man, I can't wait for this team to start. I am genuinely jonesing for this season to get going.